All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Will. I'm Product Enablement at ONA, and we are here to talk about how agents tend to trash your golden path. All the stuff that you guys spend so much time working on to perfect tends to fall apart really quickly once we force AI into everything. So, vibe check. How are those agent pilots really going? It depends on who you ask. You talk to a junior developer, they might be saying, well, one-shotted some task in 20 minutes. It passed all my PRs, looks good to me. You talk to a senior dev, on the other hand, someone who's reviewing that PR, and they're starting to say some very different things. That is clearly slop. Please review. Please break it up into 10,000 different PRs because I'm not reviewing 100,000 lines of code. But if you talk to platform teams, things really start to change. A lot of this code tends to break CI. It tends to skip or even cheat on tests. It tends to force config drift, to accelerate out of control. And platform teams wind up being the ones cleaning it all up and maintaining all of that debt in our platform. And the reason this happens is because AI teams oversell autonomy. We like to believe that AI agents can just pick up a ticket, write some code, and ship it to a PR. But if you look at what devs do, it's a lot different. Devs get a laptop that they spend days, weeks, months setting up and turning into the right type of environment. They configure access to things like internal APIs. They learn how the documentation works. They learn all the tools they have at their disposal and how to best work with their team. But for some reason, we like to believe that AI skips all of that. And this leads to poor quality, configuration drift, a poor development experience for the people who are utilizing AI, and ultimately, it eliminates any sort of the velocity gains that have been promised by all these different companies. And all of this is happening in a way that's insecure, uncontrolled, and unstandardized. So what we believe, here's the principle of this, is that AI engineers need context, but we, as the platform team, need control over how that is actually done. So the machines that they run on need to be provisioned by the right types of team within our VPC. We need to make sure that we're configuring them in a way that's automated, standardized, and enforced across things like API access, development tools, and ticket management. And then ultimately, we need to give them the right type of context, not just context bloat. Things like local projects and thousands of markdown files wind up reducing the quality of the output rather than improving it. And ultimately, we need to give them access to be able to review and ship things in the ways that make sense with our CI/CD. But how can we build this platform? We might be reaching towards those local laptops where we have all of the individual agents running, but we're missing a level of control over things like standards, architecture, and prompting best practices. If you look at vendor SaaS, they might be able to answer a lot of those questions and standardize those things in a way that makes sense for your teams. But they're also missing configuration, things like internal APIs, documentation, and the stack awareness that we were talking about previously. And then if we look towards something like a cloud sandbox, we wind up missing scale. There's levels of orchestration, cost controls, and audit trails that we need to be able to standardize so that we can actually allow AI agents to ship in a way that makes sense. So we believe that there's a lot that you can do here. In order to build a platform that actually does all of this with AI, we need to take the concept of an environment, of a standardization for a developer, and bring it to the world of AI agents. So with ONA, we're able to bring in interfaces, integrations, as well as environments and guardrails to the agents that are actually running underneath the hood. So at scale, what this really means for your team is that junior and senior developers both experience the same level of high quality, acceptable, and predictable output. Across velocity improvements on things like grunt work and menial tasks, but also larger things like migrations and refactors. And then we get actual output that passes rather than cheats our CI/CD. Platform teams, on the other hand, get to start with configuration and control and enable developers at scale while improving quality, velocity, and cost optimization. But for leadership, this really means that you can actually get the things that you're expecting or expected to get out of AI agent projects. And we've been doing this for the last 6 to 8 months with some of the largest and most regulated financial institutions, pharma companies, and tech companies that have real challenges with getting this out at scale. If you're interested in learning more about how you can do this with your own company, please come visit us at the booth, and good luck standardizing everything for AI.